Hello.
Yeah, I want to go to the latest Nazi regime in the UK under Sir Keir Starmer now, and a crackdown on so-called far-right thuggery and misinformation and disinformation. I want to play you very briefly the kind of policing that's going on in the UK.
This is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets, Thomas?
I've got my keys. I've got... No, that's about it, I think. Keys.
So, anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 of the Police and Criminal Act.
Right.
Catherine, what a joke. They got a taste of totalitarianism during COVID and now they're dining out on it.
Well, the Starmer government has extraordinarily said that they wish to extradite people from the United States, social media influencers, for inciting this sort of violence. Now, I mean, I think we all
Need to listen to Karen because it's already here in Australia. Let me show you. So recently, I have been learning about the Australian Human Rights Commission's Free and Equal project. Now, Free and Equal is a United Nations campaign to increase awareness of and support for equal rights and fair treatment of LGBTIQ plus people. Since its launch in 2013, it advocated for stronger legal protections, and now in 2024 in Australia, the Commission proposes a human rights framework to ensure all people are treated with dignity, justice and respect. The report makes 12 recommendations, includes introducing a Human Rights Act for Australia. The inquiry concluded in March, and it is anticipated that the Australian government will introduce reforms like this. Here's a media release, 30th of May this year. The report, tabled in Federal Parliament today, includes an example of legislation for a Human Rights Act building on decades of work and reinforcing recommendations from the Australian Human Rights Commission's landmark Free and Equal report. You can find the report here. However, for now, let's check out the recommendations here. Only because the report's set out in 2 columns. So Australia establishes a national human rights framework, comprehensive and effective protection of human rights in legislation through the introduction of a National Human Rights Act, support for vibrant and robust civil society organisations to protect human rights, implementing the framework, identify how the framework interacts with other national frameworks, agreements and plans, get it written down in an act, reform federal discrimination laws, shift the focus from a reactive model that responds to discriminatory treatment to a proactive model that seeks to prevent discriminatory treatment in the first place. Stages of reform. Stage 2, introducing a new co-regulatory model that broadens and expands on the positive duty under the Sex Discrimination Act. Parliamentary scrutiny and the role of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Human Rights. Amend of Section 7 of the Human Rights Act of 2011 along the lines of the power of the UK Human Rights Committee to allow to make special reports on any human rights issues which it may think fit to bring to the notice of the Parliament. The Commission recommends that the resourcing of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Human Rights be increased to enable it to perform the wider inquiry role. A public sector human rights education program be introduced to provide training and resources to public servants to enable them to understand and analyze human rights. Consideration to be given to having designated human rights advisors in departments. Parliament's role in reviewing Australia's implementation of our international human rights obligations. E. The Parliamentary Joint Committee on Human Rights be empowered to review the adequacy of the Australian Government's response to individual communications and or concluding observations from time to time. I've read the main ones, but I figure I'll just finish down to 12. We're nearly there. So A, National Human Rights Indicator Index, 8, 9. The Commission recommends that a National Human Rights Education Action Plan be introduced targeted to the Australian Public Service, primary and secondary schools, workplaces and the general community. The Commission recommends that the Australian Government appropriately and sustainably resources them. Best stuff. And 11, a robust and civil society to protect human rights. So this goes with what they're teaching them in schools. Providing funding support for NGOs to advance human rights protections. And while it's going on, they're busy as the Commission recommends that the Australian Government develop a national action plan on business and human rights. There's some really interesting bits in that, so pause and read. I didn't read out all the interesting bits because, 7 minutes, that'll do. Enough of listening to me. You know where to find it. See you later. Bye.